Alright. Making a quick video. 2-year wedding anniversary weekend. We're just now driving to the bed and breakfast that we got married at, and we rented our favorite room, and we're gonna go have a weekend. And I'm putting my wife on the spot, and we're gonna talk about what we've learned having been married for 2 years.
Yeah, I was literally talking about wanting to open a pottery studio, and then he was like, oh, I want to make a video.
And now we're doing that. So, what have you learned being married for 2 years, babe? What would you say that you've learned being married? All the stuff we've experienced and gone through, all the challenges.
This is such a weird angle for me.
You can correct the angle. We'll make an angle for her. Look how beautiful she is. Look at how stunning this woman is.
Stop.
Just put it right there.
There we go.
Alright, you can cut me out, that's fine.
No.
I don't care.
That's not what I'm doing.
Alright. What do you feel like you've learned, babe? What do you feel like you've learned?
I feel like I've learned so much.
Here, turn it to me when I'm talking.
Okay.
You talk, it's on you. What do you feel like you've learned, babe?
I don't like that. I like when we're both in it.
But then my editor can't get shorts of it.
Oh, okay. I feel like I've learned so much in 2 years of being married. I'm so on the spot. I feel like I don't know what to say.
It's okay.
But I'm just gonna reflect and then I'll say something.
Okay. I can start.
You start.
I've got something I learned. I've learned that the best driver as a man is love. If you can let
it's
love
not like
drive
about
you.
marriage, it's just like about life.
Things that marriage has taught you.
Okay.
What have you learned since getting married? Or about marriage? I think it'd be about marriage.
Yeah, I just feel like I've learned so much.
I know. Me too. But I'd say that the best thing that can drive you as a man is love.
I'm sorry.
This car started to brake about 50 yards in front of us, and she slammed her hand onto the desk. Like,
I don't know why.
It's all good.
Okay. Things that marriage has taught me. I feel like it's taught me how to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also that I'll expand on that. With communication, I feel like I've learned so much about how to filter my own emotions in a way that's productive, but also authentic. Like bringing my emotions to the table and being able to say this is how I feel about XYZ situation, but being able to control them in a way that I can bring them and be authentic with this is how I feel, and this is why that made me feel this way, whatever. But then I can move past that into a way of trying to come together in that situation.
Right. Without shutting yourself down, right?
Yeah.
Because the trick is I'm just turning it back to me. Sorry, I don't know if you're done with your thought, but
Okay.
I'll turn it back to you in a sec. I feel like that's one thing, right? Is you're not always gonna have emotions that agree with the other person. Your emotions and their feelings on something are gonna be really counteractive. And I'm a bit of a bulldozer, I've had to really learn. I'm just this is just how it is. This is what I want. This is how it is, and that made things pretty tough. And for a long time, I had a hard time. Because that really works pretty well in business. With your team or even with some clients that aren't treating you the best or whatever, with certain goals, you're just pushing. Doesn't work at home. So it's maybe another thing that I've learned is how to really have an effective dial in and dial out for the different modes that are necessary for me as a man. Because I think a lot of men are afraid of getting married, and honestly I was, because I didn't know how I was going to do it all. Because she needs very different things from me than what my work needs, and I had built so much momentum internally in my own neurology, my own relationship with my emotions, and externally with my work that I had to rewire to get ready for this and to really make this thrive. So, and that was probably one of those things, was changing how I view my emotions.
Yeah.
Back on you.
Yeah, I just feel with one thing I'm wanting to incorporate more is when I am coming to you with something that I feel, stating my intention and bringing it to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's something, I forget where I learned that, but That's something I want to
I feel
incorporate
like I've just
more.
like told you, like, why are you bringing this up?
No, I heard it from somewhere. It was
Did
like,
you?
it was either like a John Deloney thing or it was like a counseling thing from somewhere. But
Like, here's why I'm bringing this
yeah,
up.
it was like, here's my, like,
Here's the point.
I'm bringing this up with the intention of us becoming closer, or of like,
Right.
of this being resolved, so that
Right.
we can have better, you know, communication.
And that works great for me
intimacy
too,
or
because
whatever.
if I don't know where we're going on something, I'm like, why are we talking about
Yeah,
this?
that's what I'm saying. Like,
why
I
are
want
you
to
making a
incorporate
scene?
that.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you lead with what you're trying to do, I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I just feel like marriage, has taught me how, but like, my feelings can be like intense and valid, but then there's somewhere to go with that, you know? It's not just like, oh, this person hurt me, like I just have to, you know, either suck it up or I have to like, or I'm alone in that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I've learned a lot about like, okay, I can have that feeling, but it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with our relationship.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It just means like I need to come to you, I need to communicate it, I need to be clear, but you know, also authentic with you. So that's one thing that marriage has taught me.
I'd say something that marriage has taught me. 2 years in, another thing that it's taught me.
He's on number 3, I'm on like number 1.
That's okay. You just really throw with your thoughts, and I just go. But another thing that marriage has taught me is it has taught me what my real capacity is. Because, you know, like we intentionally decided that she's not going to play a role in the business. So, you know, and you guys know your business isn't just like a business. It's like a reflection of you. It's like an extension of your heart almost. It's something that you do. And so I decided she's not going to be part of the business in any major way. In a bunch of really important, like, little ways that mean a lot, she's very involved, but not in the day-to-day at all. And so I've learned a lot about, like, what it really means to be very present, because if you aren't really present as a man, especially when you have a kid and you have everything that I have going on with work, and then she has everything that she, you know, desires out of our relationship and really needs from me, it can start to, you know, be almost more than you know how to handle. At least I can only speak for myself, but I had a very one-dimensional life before I got married, where it was just pretty much just like work 24/7, and that worked for me. Like, I'd learned how to do that. I'd learned how to be work all the time, and so I've learned a lot about, like, I even, like, it's so funny, like, I literally, with my work, I'm like, yeah, like, things were kind of a dumpster fire today, but hey ho, you know, it's like put it aside, be present with my family, you know, and not let it get to me so much, because I just don't want to live a life where I'm just like on edge all the time. Like, nothing's worth that, you know. That's something that's really taught me, is just like the power of presence. Like, things can be crazy around you as a man, but if you could just like learn how to just be present and like truly just take all these thoughts that are happening and just pull them into the present, everything's fine. Like, nothing's actually wrong. Everything's great, actually. There's so much to be grateful for. Because when you run a business, you know, things can be like insane sometimes.
Like healthy compartmentalization.
Healthy compartmentalization. Yeah. Maybe compartmentalization is the way to put it, but I'd say presence is the bigger lesson than compartmentalization. Because I think I compartmentalized, but I still wasn't like present. Like, I'd leave work at work or whatever, but kind of like wouldn't go anywhere else. It's not that I would actually leave it and then do something else. It's just that I wouldn't be working on it.
Got it.
So,
I get what you're saying.
yeah, that's probably something else that I learned about being married. Or that marriage taught me / learned about being married. But the biggest thing is that love is the ultimate driver.
Yeah.
Like, I joined a mastermind recently, and it's this big group with guys doing, you know, 7 and 8 figures in their businesses. And the leader of it was like, dude, and I was telling him, like, I feel like I built my business for not having a kid. And he was like, yeah, that's how all people who have kids feel. And then he said, but now you have a real reason to get wealthy. And I was like, man, yeah, you're totally right. Like, if I just let how much love I feel for my family drive me, that's just it's such an amazing thing as a man to just like have it. You really start to feel like you can have it all, you know, because I think a lot of people believe the lie that you can't. It's either one or the other. It's just not true.
No.
It's really not true. So yeah, taught you / things you've learned about marriage, babe? Look how beautiful she is. Look how beautiful she is.
You're so sweet.
All these freaking
I feel like it's
incel men are gonna be like, this is gross. You're not supposed to love a woman unconditionally, Trey. Oh, sorry, losers. Alright, go for it.
I feel like it's taught me I feel like just a lot about like being a person, like
Yeah.
being a human, both in myself and also in you, you know. It's like, because you're with somebody every day and you're with them like when they like didn't sleep that well or they are hangry and like, and that sounds like surface level, but I mean like you realize that like we are just like people, you know, like in the way of like there's, I don't know, like the way that God has grace for us is I think what I'm trying to get at. It's like we have to have grace for each other, you know, on like
grace
a
isn't
daily
tolerance,
basis.
though. Grace
No, it's
isn't
not tolerance.
It's almost like, I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can put human behavior into full context now.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
you're seeing every part of them all the time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Some of the little things they do make more sense.
Yeah, you see everything that has gone, or like not everything that's gone on in their day, but like you can piece things together from what happened in their day, and that's why they're acting the way that they are. And you can have grace for them because you kind of have like that full picture.
Yeah.
And also just like you love them, you care for them. And so like I
Yeah.
feel like it's taught me a lot about having grace like for other people, and also having grace for like myself, and also just like being really thankful for God's grace, because like sometimes it's like the silliest things that make me act like a total B word. And I really appreciate your grace in those moments, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I do think that's a good definition of grace that just kind of came to me, right? It's like the ability to put somebody's behavior into full context with their humanhood. You know what I mean? It's like, because you've said stuff, and I mean, I've definitely said stuff. We both said stuff or done stuff that's like,
yeah, I mean,
unproductive,
there's
unhelpful, hurtful.
Yeah,
you know?
there's been like a lot of like sorry, I forgot to turn it.
You-
There's been a lot of like arguments that we've had that have been like, wow, that was really hurtful. But then you put it in context of like some of the things that we were going through.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, there were things that you said that you didn't mean, or
it was just out of defense.
or it
almost,
was out of defense
of something that you thought you had to defend from.
Right.
Because we haven't built trust in that area.
Yeah.
Yet.
Oh, and speaking of like defense, this is a total tangent, but kind
Love
of
tangents. Let's do it.
like we have had one, I just feel like you as a person have taught me so much, you know what I mean? Like marriage has taught me a lot, but I also feel like just like you have taught me a lot, and I feel like that just kind of happens in marriage.
Yeah.
But like we've had discussions like, because I feel like I have have in the past had a very messy relationship with anger, and so things that Trey has taught me is like how to have a better relationship with anger, and like that it is in defense, and that has not only helped me in like when Trey is angry about something, not even angry with me, but angry about something with work or something, you know, just whatever, and it's helped me relate better to anger. But also like in moments where I feel angry, I'm like, what am I trying to defend right now? And then that really diffuses anger in a way.
You feel like I've taught you that?
I really feel like you have.
That's
because in the past, like I have literally like anger comes into the picture and I shut down.
Yeah.
So I'm zoned out, trying to just, you know, protect myself from it, because I've always like had just like a really negative relationship with anger. And like you told me, like anger really is just defending something. Like that's what it is. That's why we get angry. And I was like, that's really interesting. And so I have really like meditated and chewed on that, especially in the context of like, well, in the context of everything. Like when I feel anger towards Trey, when I feel anger just like generally, or like towards something I see on social media, or towards like James, I'm like, what am I trying to defend right now? And that helps me put that into context. I guess it kind of does go with the last thing. It's like it helps me put that situation into context and that emotion into context, and then I can like process it better, and it's like a lot more productive rather than just like shutting down or just like letting myself be angry, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that's like a super profound thought, you know, it's not like this overarching theme, it's just like something I've really learned is like how to relate to anger. I feel like you've taught me that, and marriage has taught me that.
Well, I'm also kind of an angry person, honestly. Like, honestly, I just kind of am. I'm angry at the way that the world is. I don't like the way that the world is. I want to change it. I want to affect change. Like, I feel like a lot of what drives me is just like this, like, anger. Just like, I know things could be better than this. Almost like this, like, anger of just like.
We've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, and so I think in our early marriage, honestly, it was really hard because it was like the thing that I've used to drive me scares you. And I just was like cornered. I couldn't exist.
Yeah, I've grown to really appreciate, like, maybe that's another thing marriage has taught me is like how to really appreciate ways of thinking, or like ways that you handle things that are really different from me, you know, because like you said that about anger, or maybe I'll put this in the middle since we're both kind of talking.
You're good.
But I feel like, yeah, you being like a very, like, we've talked a lot about how he's very much a person where he like sees how the world could be, or he sees how a situation could be, and he's very frustrated when it's not that way. So like he really wants things to be that way. He wants people to like live up to their full potential, and for like a situation to be fully there. And so he feels that dissatisfaction when it's not that way, and he gets frustrated and he gets angry. And that, yeah, like anger has always scared me as an emotion. It's always been like a really touchy thing for me. And I feel like with him teaching me, you know, helping me learn what role anger plays, and then also just like getting to know him, it like has helped me appreciate the way that he sees things. Like, you know, he gets angry because he is very passionate about how things like should be, you know? And there's a lot of differences like that. Like he is like not at all detail oriented, but he's very, very good with the big picture, and like, and then I'm detail oriented, and like I feel like the celebrating differences, which I think people talk about a lot in marriage, but it's so true. It's like having somebody that compliments you and sometimes way contrasts you. Like obviously I think some of our differences have caused arguments in the past, but like, oh, what was that thing in that podcast the other day? Is like it was something about differences. I forget what it was, but
I don't remember.
It was that Marriage Today podcast. Do you remember? Okay, well, basically it was talking about how like, never mind, I'm not even gonna try to remember it because I feel like I'm gonna butcher it. But yeah, just that, I don't know, I feel like I've learned that I feel like I still am learning that as we grow and we change. It's like our differences are really valuable, and also they're like difficult sometimes. But
yeah.
I don't feel like I said that very well, but
no, I followed you.
okay.
It made a lot of sense. I think another thing that marriage taught me is how do I put this? The importance as a man of getting your home aligned with the future that you have in mind. Because you kind of just have to figure out how it all works together. Otherwise, your life's going to kind of start to dissolve into a lot of different directions. So you have to find a way where your marriage benefits your faith, which benefits your friendships, which benefits you. It's like a web, which benefits your work and your career and what you do, which benefits your fitness. And, you know, I think it's very safe to live in a very siloed world where after 5 p.m., I don't work anymore. And like, your family needs that. Don't get me wrong, they need your presence. There's a lot of good in that. But you have to, when you're considering the whole picture, you have to consider everything. And a day-to-day, you have a routine.
But
You got something on that?
But you can.
Well, in the day-to-day, you have to have a routine. because otherwise people are gonna get thrown off. They're not gonna be able to, like, there's a tension you have to hold as a man. Of day to day, you've got a routine. At this time I do this. At this time I do this. Is structure, and the tension is held against at all times, considering the future. And so that's like a tension that you have to learn how to hold as a man, and it's really, really difficult, because when you're a one-man show in life and you're not married, you know, like bachelor lifestyle and everything, you don't have to think about how somebody else is going to be impacted by your decisions. You just make the decision. And so, but you know, you have to learn how to factor somebody else in to the equation.
That's why it doesn't make sense. Marriage doesn't make sense outside of the context of, like, sorry, I'm getting bored. Sorry, took my sweater off a little bit. Marriage doesn't make sense outside of the context of, like, a biblical principle, because, like, it is an inherently sacrificial thing.
Well, you don't even have to be a Christian to appreciate that biblical principle.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense outside of that principle, which comes from, we believe,
yeah,
the
because
Bible.
we aren't capable of, like, frankly, I think we aren't capable of the amount of, like, sacrificial, unconditional love that marriage requires outside of being poured in to by God's love. I believe that very fiercely.
100%. I believe that totally.
We're such selfish creatures inherently.
It's such an act
And
of
that's
surrender.
honestly, that's something that marriage has taught me, is like how selfish I can be and how much I need God. Like, that's maybe the biggest thing, honestly, that marriage has taught me, and thinking about it is, like, I am straight up just so selfish, and I really need God daily to be able to love Him in a way that, like, God loves Him, and unconditionally and sacrificially. Same thing for my baby. That wasn't what I was gonna say, but that is probably the biggest thing that marriage has taught me. But I was going to say, what was I gonna say?
Yeah, you can think about it. If somebody's watched 22 minutes of this by now, you don't have to entertain them at this point.
No, I just had a good one that I was thinking of, and then I lost it.
Yeah. I've maybe got a thought while you think about yours. You don't even have to listen to me. That way you can think about it. All right. I've got a thought. The other thing that being married has taught me is just the power of slowing down. And this may be to the people who are more empathetic, you're gonna be like, yeah, duh. But for me, it's very powerful because I'm not very empathetic by nature. But it's the power of slowing down and getting onto somebody's level before moving forward. And just really, you don't even have to agree with them. They just have to make sure that they feel heard by you.
I remember.
It's like such a good thing that I've learned. It's changed the game for me in my business, with client stuff, team stuff, people stuff. Like, people don't even need to be right. They just need to be heard. And so if you can just hear them and not invalidate what they feel, because humans are by nature 90% emotional, 99% emotional. They don't make logical decisions. They finally caught me, babe. They finally caught up.
What is going on here?
I don't know, some crazy stuff. We're in like bumper to bumper traffic right now, which is kind of perfect for this, to be honest. But it's just the power of somebody being heard and how much trust you can build by just hearing. And I kind of knew that in context of like sales. Like, half of sales is just listening. People think it's saying the right stuff. It's not. It's just listening and asking questions. And then they are so receptive to your suggestions. I knew that. But I've never really experienced it on a deep and interpersonal level. Just the power of just being like, I totally don't get where you're coming from right now. I'm going to put everything aside and just listen. And then what's amazing is a lot of the time, they're making a lot of sense, but it was just your ego getting in the way. And also, not only that, it takes like 2 or 3 minutes and you win so much trust. So that's powerful. So that's another thing. Okay, your thought.
My thought. This yellow truck is still hanging by us. I think my thought was something along the lines of, like, it takes being somewhat. What?
You're fine.
Okay. Splenda. Being a certain level, like, ambitious to have a really good marriage, because I think that, I don't know, like, maybe that's just, I've learned that about myself. It's like, I'm actually more ambitious than I kind of thought I was at at some point in my life because I have like a
You might have
real...
to speak up a little bit as we move.
Oh, okay.
Because the shaking is gonna
Oh.
go into the mic, you know what I mean?
Well, okay.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It's a great thought. I didn't want to interrupt. But
Yeah, no, I just feel like I'm more ambitious than I maybe thought I was at some point in my life, because I think it takes a certain level of ambition to have a really great marriage, and because it takes a lot of like forethought and like, what do I want my home to feel like, and what do I want, because it's the basis of like the whole rest of your life, because like job opportunities are going to change, business opportunities are going to change, family's going to change, your kids are going to grow up, they're going to move out, you're going to have different financial situations all the time, but like your marriage is like the thing that sticks around. And so if your marriage is like subpar, then you know, but that's up to you. And so I feel like that has, like, leaving no stone unturned in our marriage has been really valuable.
and hard.
And hard, but really valuable, but really hard. And it's taken a lot of like me being really authentic and upfront with my emotions, which I kind of touched on at the beginning, but like I feel like I have had to learn how to do that, you know, because I feel like
Yeah.
I can tend to be kind of people pleasy at times.
Yeah.
And I've really had to break that, you know, like
Yeah.
being a lot more willing to make him upset temporarily to then, you know, come together in a more...
And I feel like I've had to really encourage you on that.
Yeah,
I'd
and that's
be like,
been a great
I can
thing.
tell you're not giving me everything right now.
Yeah, no, I've told him this, I told him this in the last couple of days. Like, I really appreciate how much space he holds for those emotions, even when there's something that he doesn't agree with or doesn't want to hear, you know, like something that would just kind of bother him. But yeah, like he is very encouraging of like, you know, tell me what you really think, tell me how you really feel, even if it makes me mad, it's okay if I'm mad, but you know, like, just tell me. So that was kind of a scattered thought. I think I had something a little more poignant, but I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think I can probably try and wrap it up. It's basically like, in order to, you a couple things. I think you made a couple points. First is, agree yes or no. Marriage requires being very ambitious.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
The second was, marriage has taught you how ambitious you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the third one is like, it's taught you how to not be too people-pleasing in your needs.
Yeah, maybe sub-point of those is, since marriage, you have to be kind of ambitious, you have to be willing to put in the work and to not leave a stone unturned, even if it would be way easier and maybe, quote-unquote, not that big of a deal in the moment to just leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's this, I feel I need to speak to this. There's this like, and I think a lot of like, and I can speak to this because I used to follow this stuff, like the men's like red pill stuff. There's this idea that they talk about of like, your wife has to only bring you peace all the time. Here's the problem with that, is if all you expect all the time is peace, you're asking her to put away everything, and you're gonna have future chaos. So peace is earned by both parties, and you have to learn to trust that they're not just gonna make problems just to make them. And any woman worth marrying, or any person worth marrying, isn't dramatic for the sake of it. Like, they're bringing something up because it's a problem. So if you trust the person you're with, you work through it, and then you create peace, right? And so this idea that like you just need peace all the time, it's like, yeah, 100%. I'm not, you know, I think if she were constantly starting stuff, or if I were constantly starting stuff, it's like, okay, we need to have a conversation about that. That's just like not acceptable. But A, she doesn't do that. B, if you want only peace all the time in your marriage, that's not something that you get by asking somebody to never bring anything up ever, or never do anything ever. You work through the things that they bring up, even if you feel like it's not that big a deal. Because then on the other side, you've earned a lot of peace. Like, you can just sit in that peace. And that's one of the commitments you make when you get married. And that's one of the commitments you make really to yourself, is that you're going to do that work. So peace is earned. You know, peace isn't like, you know, there's this idea like women should just always create peace, and just basically they just like
that kind of makes me think of a point.
Yeah.
Where,
But and I'll finish this real quick, and then your point. The ultimate peace is in truly knowing that there's nothing going on behind the eyes, that you're on the same page, and then knowing and trusting them that they're going to then create that peace. Because there's just, the nature of humans is there's friction. Like with any long-term important relationship in your life, there's gonna be friction, there's gonna be disagreements. If you never disagree with somebody, if you never talk through anything, that's not a real relationship. You guys are just scooting along, you know, like not really actually achieving anything together. The nature of humans is we're all so different. Like, our root systems are all so complex and different, and you're merging root systems with somebody. And so peace is found in long moments of agreed upon terms and mutually agreed upon values, for moments of, you know, chaos, where you just have to figure something out. So, you know, people that say they never argue or never have this, I'm just like, dude, okay, like, do you ever, like, there's been moments where we're like, we don't know how we're gonna get through a thing, but we're just like, no, like, the marriage is more important than this thing that we don't understand about each other.
And that's the
It's
great
like, that's
thing
what it
about,
means to fight for your marriage. All right.
yeah, that's the great thing about having like a like having divorce not really be an option. It's like, we have to get through this. You know?
It's either we get through this or we're miserable.
Yeah,
forever.
literally. It's like, well, we're not gonna get divorced.
And that's what marriage is supposed to be, by the way.
Right.
As a side note, you don't get
It's not
divorced.
just a legal contract, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the great thing, is like, you have to work through things, because
It's really scary.
It's really the only option.
It's really scary. Like, if you're not freaked out on your wedding day, you don't understand the commitment you're making.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, people like to make fun of men who are freaked out on the wedding day. I'm like, dude, you should be freaked out. Like, this is a huge commitment, and everybody's there.
Right.
I was freaked out. It was beautiful. I loved the day, but I was freaked out.
I was too.
She was too. She should be.
I was kind of gonna make a point similarly to what you did, like women not always making peace. For women, like, your husband isn't supposed to fulfill you in every way. Like, to speak biblically again, like, the only, you know, thing that can really fulfill you is Christ. And I feel like marriage has really taught me that. You know, it's like, he can't fulfill every feeling and every need and every hurt and every, you know, marriage isn't meant to fix you and to fix all of the insecurities that you have and all the problems that you have and everything. It's a gift, and it's a really beautiful opportunity, but it's not meant to like fix you and heal you and make you feel good all the time. And so I think that's something I really learned, is like, the thing that's meant to fulfill me and to heal me is Christ. And yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. It's like, your husband, like, I feel like your marriage can get better and better and be beautiful and can change and be dynamic and amazing, and it can be very fulfilling, but it's not like the thing that will fulfill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Your husband isn't meant to make you feel awesome all the time and whatever. I think the only thing that can do that is Christ.
That's beautiful, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's not just a wholesome thought in the sake of it being cute and pretty. It's also like completely true.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Really good. Another thing that I've learned is, and I've always sort of intuitively known this actually, I think it's why I wanted to get married when I did. Mm-hmm. Instead of wait. Like, I knew this, and this belief overcame any fears that I had of getting married, honestly, because I was petrified. Like, you see me, like, she's perfect. Like, she's an angel. Like, you're, like, any guy would want to marry Lily, 100%. No question. I was petrified because I knew the standard with which I wanted to have a marriage. I didn't want to have just like a marriage. I wanted to have like something that inspires people. I wanted to have a marriage that's just beautiful through and through, and I knew how much work that was going to take and how much I was going to have to sacrifice to have that. Here's my point. I think, well, and now I've experienced and I know, but I knew at the time, and now I really know, that any success you have outside of your home is like, let's say you build, I think it's 10 times more valuable having built it with a wife by your side. I'm realizing that now, and I'm really experiencing that. It's like, say you have just to put numbers on it, say you have a $10 million a year business, but you're single. It's not gonna mean as much to you, and it's not gonna be as secure as $1 million a year business, but you're married. And the reason why, honestly, is because God made women to help purify a lot of what happens in men. You know, the deception and the lust and the greed and these things in you that can ruin empires. You know, the loose lips and the deceitfulness and the whatever. That stuff just like it gets worked through you. You know, so you are worked on and sanctified through your marriage.
Oh yeah.
And so, and in that, you know, the higher you go, the more pure you have to be, because it's so easy to topple something. When you have all these roads leading back to you and all these decisions you have to make, like if your heart isn't pure, like out of the heart the mouth speaks. And when you run a business, the things you say run the business. And so marriage is the best purifier of a heart that God has offered to men. And so I'm realizing now, like, a big business is made more stable by the owner having a great marriage. And a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people don't see it that way, but that's how it works. And I'm now really, I'm profoundly like experiencing that. It's like a little bit of growth is so much better with a woman by your side who, you know, through the work of the marriage purifies you and you purify it as the man, than a lot of growth, but you don't have that person yet. I really think, you know, I was given this advice of like, go out and succeed a lot and then find a woman. And that's kind of the advice that I followed. Like, I'd succeeded a ton. But honestly, if I could go back and change that to, hey, find a woman and build with her, I think I would. Because I do think that that's like, it's if your woman doesn't see you on the come up and like the build, which is kind of like, I'm building like a new version of the business right now, but she still didn't even really see me when I was like 16 or 17. Like she hasn't totally seen it, and I kind of in my heart wish she had. So that's something too, is like, I do think that if you have it in your power to lock down a good relationship and get that, you know, secured and in place, and then you start to build, I just think that that's the way to do it. Because the right woman is so ready to ride that ride with you, and they're gonna love it. As long as you just love them along the way, they're gonna love it. Like, you know what I mean? So that's maybe another thought as well. To summarize, like, a little bit of growth with the right woman is way better than a lot of the growth with either the wrong woman or alone. So that's a thought too.
Nice.
Yeah, I know all my thoughts are business related, but this is like a business channel, so I'll talk about
Right.
business. Any other thoughts? We can keep going. We've got 26 minutes before where we're at, 'cause this is bumper to bumper, and we've moved probably 100 yards this whole time. So.
I don't know.
No?
Yeah.
What else have I taught you, babe? Kidding. Yeah, well, we'll just end it there then. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and hope that you enjoyed. And yeah, see you in the next one.